questions and answers later. So just to introduce myself, I'm Mike Bonacolta. I grew up in Lehigh. I am a graduate of the Lee County School District system. I went to Lehigh Elementary, and then I went to Lehigh Senior for both middle school and for high school. After that, I went to Florida Gulf Coast University. I studied political science, and one of my focuses in my degree was on domestic policy and especially education. After college, I decided to go into teaching and got a job at the Alva School teaching middle school civics and U.S. history, so 7th and 8th grade. And really that's kind of why I'm here tonight, to give a teacher's perspective of education and also from my own experience and what I've studied at Florida Gulf Coast. So that's kind of going to be where I'm at when we do questions and answers, and thanks for having me.
I need to ask all the people that are running for office to stand up so we can introduce them and get that out of the way. It's on my agenda, but I didn't do it. Things comes into it. Yes.
Looking at the group, this reminds me of what the minister says on Christmas: show up early so you can get a good seat and back. As I said, my name's Charlie. I'm running for District 2. District 2 is basically the center part of Lee County. I came out here today. It's not my district, but if you know somebody in Gateway, they're definitely in my district. But I did pick up one signature on the petition, and I had an option: come out and hang out with you guys, or watch Wheel of Fortune. You guys want it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to introduce myself when I speak. So. Well, I think, I don't know how you're doing. I don't know how you're doing. So
This is our fourth speaker.
So are we changing this to kind of a panel discussion?
That's
No,
He was voting.
I think you should stick with what you wanted to do, you know, honestly, and then, you know,
We
we
can
can have
from there.
like a panel at a
I agree.
panel discussion
This
at a
is
later
Pam.
stage.
This is Pamela LaRiviere, and she is the District 5 representative to the school board, which is Lehigh's district. She represents us, so she's a very good person here to ask the questions we have, not so much about last year, but where are we going in the future? The school board is always about the future. It's always about the kids. And that's what we have to start thinking about now to make the changes we need in the future. And Mike, you talk about any changes you want to see?
I think with we talked about it before, is really it's tough for teachers to kind of teach, but we have the test standards that we're given, and it's kind of hard to figure out where we're going if we're not told where we're going at the beginning of the year. When we're not given those standards at the beginning of the year, we're not giving what, last year, for example, when we came to testing, it was decided that we were going to not count the tests, then it was decided that we're going to count the tests, and then eventually was, no, we're not going to count the tests. And it left teachers confused, it left students confused, left parents confused. It was kind of like a big jumbled mess when it came to testing, and testing already is a big jumbled mess, let alone adding on top of it more of a government mess when it comes to politics. And I think that's one thing as a teacher. A lot of teachers like to see kind of keeping the politics out of education would be nice.
What would be your thoughts, since we can entertain you? What would be your thoughts as a teacher? What would you like to see happen?
What would I like to see happen?
Yes.
Well, when it comes to Common Core, I think that there are some good things about Common Core, and I know that's the bad word in the building is Common Core standards. People kind of have problems with it. But I think what people need to understand, it's good to have set standards, set national standards on what should be taught and what children should learn. I think the problem comes when you say that everyone has to meet at the same national level, the same mastery level of those standards. And I think it comes down to that the state and the local level are the ones that have to be in charge of deciding where students have to be when it comes to those standards. Sure, the national level can say, these are the standards that need to be taught, this is what's important, and have a national standard in that sense. But I think it comes down to the local community that has to decide where each individual students, and really the teachers and the administration have to decide where students should actually be when it comes to mastery of these standards. I think that's where we need to get down to the more local level.
And I'm going to ask a follow-up question unless anybody else asks, so we can keep it going.
Yeah, anybody raise
And
your
they're
hand?
important questions. You know, I ask you what your thoughts are based on you teach it. I will also follow up to ask, and I heard you said national. Do you think that a national standard, at least to a certain level, should exist in our nation first, and maybe then come down at state level base? Because I know state and or local level have different mixture of people and their culture. But would you also not say that, look, national level, having a national level for all of our country be at one?
No, I think that each individual student's different. Each student has the ability to reach a certain level, and I think you can't, it's not apples to apples. I mean, some kids are different than other kids. Some kids might excel in math and reach a higher level of math standard than they might reach in reading, and that's just the way it is. And I think we really have to have a discussion in our country about what's the purpose of education. Is the purpose of education to have everybody at the same exact level, which isn't attainable, or is it to have a purpose for education? To learn about certain things, to maybe get into a career path, to go on to college, to further their learning in different ways, and every student's different. So I think when you're setting a level for each student to reach, I think that's impossible to do at the national level, and it's just setting up failure. But I think when you just have to send it down to the local level, to the communities, to the teachers, and to the administration, that's where you're going to actually be able to figure out each individual student's needs and abilities.
I asked Mr. Mary Fisher the same question, see what your response is. We're all evaluating the teachers against these standards. Who's evaluating success or failure at Common Core?
I mean,
Can we make this a discussion?
yeah.
This is very stifling.
Okay, can I, first of all, Common Core, there was just a bill signed. It was bipartisan. I believe in the House was 359 people voted for it. In the Senate, 85 people voted for it. Common Core is history. Now, some of those remnants remain, and they will remain everything, because when you change something, things tend to last. Here's my argument with the people who are against Common Core. My wife is a school teacher. I've looked at it from a school teacher's point of view. Quite a few years ago when she taught business and there was no Common Core, she taught in her business class, she taught the kids how to do a resume. During Common Core, she taught the kids how to do a resume. After Common Core, which ended 2 years ago, she teaches kids how to do a resume, how to find a job. That's the important thing. We've got to prepare our kids for the future. To me, what Common Core has become is just a way for politicians to take over our school system. I am more concerned, for example, District 2, where I'm in, is heavy in minority. One of the big problems with District 2, and one of the big problems the schools are saying is Hispanics do not participate in the school system. They are absolutely correct. Why can't we go into our school system and say, okay, we need a PTA in Spanish. Invite the Spanish parents to come to meet and then go and meet with the regular PTA. We've got to get our community down. There's two reasons why people don't participate in the school system. One is laziness. Two is they're working 2 or 3 jobs raising a whole bunch of kids. That's a two-bit. Not everybody can be part of it, but we have to make our school system available to everybody who can get in. Yes, sir.
There's a third point that gets missed in this whole Lee County thing, and because of the choice schools, the schools are so far from the parents, usually, they can't participate. It's impossible. We have set ourselves up for the parents not to participate.
Before we even go to that, the main reason I'm running is we have lost the trust and the confidence in our school system. The people in Lee County no longer trust our school system. Pam is someone who I respect very highly, and I think she is trying, and I am going to use this word, trying to do a good job. She needs help. The school board needs change. And That's my main thing. We've lost confidence, we've lost trust. You need people sitting up there that say something and people will believe them. Now, that's the way I'm looking at it. We have to first, before we resolve all the world's problems, is regain the trust.
You gotta give me some rules on the format to adhere to, Joan. You can't be changing things every 5 minutes.
Yeah, I would surely like to respond, or can we change the
Each
format?
one can comment on each question, because we're not.
I have, okay, and before we do that, I think Charlie just went through and explained kind of why he was running. It would be beneficial for Betsy to say why she is running. And so, and then do that, and then.
And do you want to do it from here?
Yeah.
All right.
The way it's working now.
Since we're a small group, all right, just very briefly, introduction. My name is Betsy Vaughn. As I said, I'm running for District 7, which is at large, so everybody in the county can vote for me. My background is 38 years as a classroom teacher, secondary language arts, mostly. My last 8 years were right here in Lee County at Estero High School. And at Estero, I taught everything from, when I moved to Florida, I got my reading endorsement. And I taught everything from reading, double reading periods, which included students that were high school students reading at a 3rd grade level, through advanced placement classes for juniors and seniors. In my last year there, I taught Cambridge, which is Cambridge ACE class. So I'm very familiar with the range of students that we have in Lee County, at least on the high school level. The other thing I want to say is, of the 38 years, 24 years were spent in Dallas, Texas area at a fairly large, not as large as Lee County, but I was at a high school for 19 years that had about 2,000 students. And I was a department chair for that period of time, which leads me into why I decided to run for school board. What I found is in my district in Texas, the department chairs and the teachers, me representing the teachers of my department, which I think I did a pretty good job of, we have a lot more input, meaningful input into the school. When I came to Lee County and I looked around at how some of the things were done, hiring practices, the way school leadership teams were developed, curriculum. I saw some problems with curriculum, with vertical teaming, with one thing I haven't liked is I see that a lot of the coordinators change too often. It's like a revolving door of the coordinators. For instance, English language arts coordinator, I did some
several changes.
Yes. I did some curriculum work in Lee County, and I had done quite a bit of curriculum work back in Louisville, Texas. And just in the course of the summer cadre, the lady, it changed and it changed again, and I see a problem with that. I see a continuity problem. So I decided to run for school board way before I retired, which was 1.5 years ago. And I decided to do it because initially I saw some things that I didn't think were working well, that I thought I had better ideas and a better way to do it. The other reason is I'm kind of a restless person. I'm not happy. I mean, I'm very happy being retired because I no longer get up at 5:20. But I'm not happy spending my day sitting at the club, having a Bloody Mary for lunch and playing bocce or tennis or something. I'm out into the community. I do a lot of volunteer work. I am a guardian ad litem, which is very, very eye-opening. And I'm on my 2nd case, and both of these are young women, 15-year-olds, that are students at LAMP. And I've developed a really very strong interest in just helping the community. And I very strongly believe that the only way to break the poverty cycle is through education. And yes, we want to improve our graduation rate. Florida has a pretty poor graduation rate, and Lee County across the board is even worse. And we are at not even 70% for our Black students, our Hispanic students. For the ELLs, we aren't even at 50% graduation. We need to change that. And my new interest is early childhood education. So that's where I stand, and that's why.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna say, before I speak or say anything, you spent a lot of, that we found out a lot about Betsy. Is there anything else we need to find out about you, Charlie?
She said she has like 30 some odd years of school, as a school teacher's qualification. My qualification is I was a husband. I am a husband. My wife is a school teacher. I have for the last 24 years, listened to my wife when she gets home and has presented to me her case as a school teacher. This is what happened, this is what happened. I've been an employee my whole life. I'm a salesman. I look at problems. You know, God gave you 2 ears, 1 mouth. You listen twice as much as you talk, you'll usually find a solution. That's what I think we need to do. We need to change the attitude on the school board, the way the people look at it. I mean, as a salesman, you're supposed to communicate with people. I plan to go to the PTA. I plan to go to the schools in my district and say, what do you need? What can we do to help you? When do teachers become the enemies? I mean, I'm serious. When do teachers, now anything happens in the school, Johnny gets a B, the teacher gets blamed. You know, we need to back up our teachers. We need to support that's our future. Whether you have kids in our system or not, our future is the kids there. Time does fly. This kid that's, you're dropping off at 3rd grade, maybe your doctor in a few years, and that's kind of scary, but that's what's happening. We need to help our teachers, we need to listen to our teachers, we need to listen to the experts, which is the teachers, the parents, the actual students, find out what they're talking about. Yes, sir.
I think, she's got the right message right there. Rather than, let's hear what your introduction.
And I'm currently a board, okay,
This
but
board
I didn't know
doesn't-
if you told any more about what you wanted to say, so.
Well, no, I mean, my big thing is I want to be a bridge between our community, our teachers, our students, and the school board.
The way it is set up in Lee County has alienated the teachers,
Yes.
or the parents against the teachers. The way it's set up with the school busing, that has created the problem. And I don't know how to turn that around.
Okay, why don't we, okay,
No,
yeah,
go ahead.
before we go any more, we gotta
You know what
go.
I'm saying, right?
No,
This
So
lady
now
needs
we've
to
got,
be
we've
her
gotta have
hat.
some organization.
there you go.
So, okay, I'm Pamela LaRiviere. I taught for 31 years in the district. I graduated from Lee County Schools, can you believe it? And I too, like Betsy, before I decided to retire, planned on being on the board. And I would say to my colleagues next door, I said, when I'm on the board, this is what I want to see happen. And this has been a really interesting learning curve because I'm on the board to try to work collaboratively with board members because my job is governance, just like county commissioners. Their job is governance and policy. Their job is not to, they can work together and give a directive for the county manager on what they would like to see happen. But their job is not to tell the county manager about how to go about doing it. And so that's been a very interesting piece because I have these plans. Now, every board member is different. There are 3 of us that show up in the office regularly. 2 do not. There are 3 of us who spend time at schools. 2 do not. I have been extremely proactive with visiting the schools a lot and spending time with them and making myself available to build those relationships. So all of that has come into play, and it's been quite a learning curve, because my job is not to tell people what to do. And I've had board members say, "Oh, well, you stepped the line." One of the teachers at one school at Mirror Lakes Elementary knew about something I did when I taught in my classroom. They said, "Will you come and tell us about it?" And so as we were brainstorming and talking about it, they said, "Will you come and model that for us?" And I said, "Sure." Principal knew, the reading coaches knew, and so we planned a day on how to model the lessons and so on. I was called on it by someone who's on a district staff member downtown, questioned it. Dr. Graham knew what I was doing. Everybody knew what I was doing. Nobody questioned it except this person. And then board members said, "Oh, well, no, you're not supposed to do that. Your job is to make yourself available. Your job, as long as you're not telling people what to do, and you're having, you have to use a lot of judgment." So I just need to share that. I had the experience of teaching elementary all the way through middle school. I was one of those who did training for people who were getting their reading endorsement, and was part of that process. And you have to understand, and I have paperwork that you can get, but it's constantly changing. The students in Lee County District represent 159 countries, at least, at last count from last year. They also represent 124 languages and/or dialects. Imagine the difficulty of being in a school with that. We had a child come to us from China. We thought, great, except he did not speak Mandarin. We had somebody who could help him that spoke Mandarin. He did not. So it's a real struggle of what we have to work with. The other part that goes in line, I really believe ties in well with our graduation part, is but 85%, if I remember correctly, it's the same numbers. We have more students who entered 9th grade in Lee County schools who did not go to school here from kindergarten all the way through. Those are our struggling readers. We found that kids who work with us all the way through, they're more successful. We've had more of a problem, especially for our ELL students, when they come in and they've not had that background information. So that's why we had a big problem from middle school, high school, with getting kids on grade level with reading and trying to help them get ready for graduation. There are so many components to the piece, and I just want to address one thing about busing and with regard to school choice. On the elementary level, I will say this, that for elementary school, our students in Lehigh Acres do not have extreme distances to go to get to their school. And next year it will be even better because of adjustments that they're allowing to help in that school choice piece. Where we have more busing, and it's going to happen because you have more schools in it, will be in your high school areas. And especially because we have our high school students that want to be part of a different program. So yes, I would love to go back to neighborhood schools. That sounds great. But we don't have a small community like we used to have in Fort Myers and Lehigh, where it was just this little small component and everybody all lived in the same kind of central area. And it was very easy to know, oh, this is where you go. But when you go into areas where I live, in Lehigh, I have some children in elementary school that go to Tortuga Preserve, they go to Harns Marsh, and they go to River Hall. Some of them choose River Hall, so it's been going there. Sunshine. And they're all relatively close. The closest area one for them to get to is Tortuga Preserve, but some people don't want that for whatever the reason.
Oh, they're in that school. during that school.
Yes.
They've been horrible. And it's very well known in the community.
And the interesting thing is, I have to say, when you go, and I will gladly take any of you through any tour of any of our schools. I've been through Barnes Marsh A School. You walk through it, those kids are all right on target. That school, they've done inclusion with our students so that students who have what would be normally called who have higher emotional issues or problems, they start as they're able to include them in the classrooms. You can't tell the difference from one student to the other. Barnes Marsh is an A school. You go to Tortuga, you walk in their classrooms, teaching is on top. Their classrooms look exactly the same. What's the main thing that's the difference? The parents having the capacity to help them, and the students what they have with their capacity that they come with.
It's much deeper than that.
I have a question, and
Yeah.
any board member, any one of you can answer it.
Now we go.
Whatever your opinion, I will respect it, but please give a reason for your opinion. Would you say that this district is too large? The school district and just be very brief with your answer. It's not just it could be a yes or no answer, but just make it like 2 sentences.
Yeah.
And I'll start from this end.
First of all, this poor gentleman has been having a question, but let me answer the question. You're next. Let this gentleman speak.
No, let me
Okay.
ask.
Your answer, no, Lee County is not too large, and the reason I'm
No problem.
against, but let me explain why I'm against breaking it up. You're gonna have an East District, a Central District, and a West District. Now you're having 3 more school boards, where we have problems with 1, now you're gonna have 3 school boards. You're gonna have 3 administrations, where if we're unhappy with the administration we have today, imagine where we're gonna be with 3 administrations. So all you're doing, as far as I can see, is tripling the problem.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, I believe it's too large. However, we are not the largest in the state, and I do not like the way Florida has their school districts organized. It's not that we can arbitrarily say, hey, Cape Coral, you break off. I mean, they have to form a new county.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
I'd like a response from each one of the people on the same one.
We need to do a question, and that's where it really helps. I will answer your question, but then I really believe this gentleman needs to go next to the question. And we need somebody who will take on the role of watching the hands. And I think Mike should also respond as a teacher. Florida has it where it's by county. And when you look at the way revenues come in, everything is done by county. And you come in from other states, and it's done by city or a small municipality or a village. And so when I go in with my relatives in Massachusetts, and they don't understand why we are, as big, and so it becomes it's a change. So that would have to require our legislature wanting to make changes, and that would require a whole lot of changes because.
Fine, I just wanted your opinion, because it concerns me. This is why I would ask. I am not this kind of so that you know, I've been in the school district system for quite some time. I'm a retired teacher, but so I know where I'm coming from, and I look at what people are saying and are asking. So I'm not coming here with a question just because they ask. So I'll ask that this gentleman to respond to the same question, and then.
Just real quick, I think it's already been asked that, from the state down that we get county government for our Lee County School District. I think the other thing is, and also very important, is the school district's big in another sense. I think there's too many regulations, rules, bureaucracy, red tape in the Lee County School District. I mean, parents got in trouble for going into a classroom to help a teacher. That's ridiculous. someone who's worked for
And
30
that's
years
not even, that's
as a
not even,
teacher.
and you
It's
know,
not even one of the rules,
Yeah.
but still, it's one of those unspoken rules. And there's more than just unspoken rules, there's written rules that there's too much regulation, too much red tape in the Lee County School District, that things run at a slower pace than they should. One department has to go to the other department to get approval for something this department's doing, when two people are sitting right next to each other in the same building, in the same office, and that's ridiculous. And that's why the school district runs so slow, and that's one of the things that need to change. So yeah, we're too large, but we also can shrink that Lee County School District down from where it is without having to go through the CLR center. But that would be nice if we went through the CLR center and got smaller.
But if you have a parent, don't they have to be cleared by the office? Because, you know, safety is an issue nowadays as well.
Well, no, I mean, like, not safety rules and regulations. Obviously, those need to be in place to protect our students. I mean, the actual bureaucracy, when things go
of
through
getting, having things
curriculum
move
and things
forward.
like that. Yes.
Okay. Mention made of lack of continuity. What do you think is, what do you think is responsible for that lack?
Well, I can tell you that where I taught for many years, and we had large high school, we had feeder schools. My high school, beneath that, there were 2 middle schools, at 1.3, and then the new school opened up. Feeding into the middle schools, we had elementary schools. It really, I don't see that it's a viable option for Lee County to do that. There are too many issues. There are issues, historical issues here with, you know, desegregation. There are issues of where, literally, where and how the schools were built geographically, okay? Because to make this work, you need to have a community with the schools in a proximity. And so it would be really, really difficult. The continuity that I saw was, my district had 5 large high schools. And my high school, as I said, I was a department chair. And at least once a year, usually a couple times a year, I would meet with the department chairs from the middle schools that fed into our school, okay? And we would all meet together, and we would do vertical planning. In other words, we would say to the 8th grade teachers, and the department was there, I was a facilitator. Well, 9th grade teachers, what do you see with your 9th graders? Where are they going wrong with the writing? And we would be very, very specific and say, you know, they're still writing sentence fragments or whatever. We worked directly with them. Now, did our district have, we called it a scope and sequence, which is a curriculum plan. Yes, absolutely, we had that. But our clientele, our students at my particular school, were pretty much middle to lower middle class. If you went to the other end of the district, a school called Flower Mound, they had the horse farms, and it was socioeconomically very, very different. It was a different clientele. So we had it broken down. Yes, overall scope and sequence, but we worked individually. The other thing is, and this goes back to that gentleman's comment, we have a sense of community. There is no sense of community that I see. When you have, even in Lehigh, if you have neighbors where Johnny lives here and goes to one school, Mary's here, she goes to another, and Pedro is here and he goes to yet another, you know, there is the sense of community. In Texas, our whole town went to the, of course it's Texas, the Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
The whole town showed up, whether they had kids there or not, because there was a sense of community, which I see lacking here.
Where I'm gonna be a little bit different on the school board. Okay, first of all, what a school teacher does, you have no idea how much I respect what a school teacher does. I go into my wife's class and those kids scare me. Dangerous. I mean, what you guys do, I don't even want to go there. My issues is not how we teach kids, okay? We have got so many PhDs, so many people that work downtown, at the school board. That's already, we've got a great school system. We've got, every day, 92,000 kids go to school. Every day they go home. They're fed, they're taught. You got teachers that put their heart and soul into teaching our kids. They're taught. Our problem is not the schools. Our problem is we're broke. You got 2,000 kids a year, a minimum of 2,000 kids a year going into our school system. Riverdale High School, biggest school in Lee County, has got like 2,400 kids. That's one high school every year. We're broke. We need to manage how we do things. We need to get control of our fiscal responsibility. The school board's got to start saying, okay, how are we going to pay? We need a school. What is it, Pam? 3 schools we need now?
Yes.
3 schools, and we're broke.
But Charlie, we still, I know I'm not the moderator, but the question is continuity in the schools.
But, I mean, everything is fine. Our education system, I think, is great. I think our school board responsibility is not what school we're teaching out of. Our school board responsibility is how we're going to pay for the lights and how we're going to pay for a new school. Do we want to go year-round school? Do we want to go portables? That's the problem. We've got to focus on the main issues. While we're complaining about is Common Core and all this stuff, how are we going to pay for this stuff? That's my problem. How are we going to teach our kids?
You know what I noted, I spent a few years in the school system as a subteacher. What I noticed, I saw this lack of continuity in the textbooks. Every year, there is a different set of textbooks for you. Students are taught this way, and then the next year some other idea comes along, and then principals also have too much autonomy, because a principal dislikes a teacher, the teacher goes, no matter how good that teacher is. Then to whom does that teacher appeal? Should a principal decide, I don't like you, put somewhere else? That's why I see the books, it's a waste. Thousands of dollars in books are being thrown away every year. And then also, the students have to engage now in learning a different approach to different things, especially math and the sciences, which I feel something should be done to correct this.
No, that's what, I'm trying to get.
I just wanted to bring up something about teaching in the classroom and something new that is coming through the district now, which has been great, and that is the use of Chromebooks in the classroom. All middle school students, as of right now, have Chromebooks. Next year, all high school students will have Chromebooks, and Chromebooks have been amazing. One, they're going to be great when it comes to textbooks and things like that, because it's going to be a digital textbook. It's easier, it's cheaper. I think keeping students engaged using the Chromebooks is a lot easier. I have found that using Chromebooks has been a lot easier. Almost all of my lesson plans use the Chromebooks in some capacity. And another thing, paper costs have gone down, which you can look at that as one, savings, and 2, you're helping the environment by keeping paper costs down using Chromebooks. But I think Chromebooks and technology is really going to be the way to actually keep students engaged and keep education moving forward. That's what I've seen the district doing. I've been very happy with that.
We have a question in the back of the room from Malloy.
Yes, just talk about Chromebooks, and that's the technology. But then before that, we heard that our district and the children and the parents, they're not economically up there. So how are they going to be able to afford the digital technology?
The Chromebooks are given.
It's already embedded with them.
The school board gives, the school gives the kids.
How many times?
But don't they have to, I mean, is it something, don't they have to connect it somehow to use it? No? Explain what Chromebooks is.
Okay, a Chromebook, the way the Chromebook is set up, and this is, boy, we're having a hard time sticking with one question, but I'll stick with it. We've got Chromebooks. The Chromebooks, each student gets a Chromebook that is loaded with all the information that they are going to need for the year. it's loaded and automatically has access to everything they need to do for homework. When the student is at school, they have access to the internet for anything that they need to do within the classroom. Homework assignments are done so that they have to, teachers are encouraged so that nothing has to be required that's going to require the students to access the internet. The other aspect is that one of the fears that people said was, oh, well, these students are going to abuse them. They've abused books. They're going to really abuse these Chromebooks. Let me tell you something. It's been amazing to watch the kids and see how responsible they are with them. They are thrilled with it. And that Chromebook weighs a lot less than textbook going from class to class. So it's been very helpful. So I will share that information. So
they can access it at school with them. So every classroom, are they going to be equipped?
yes, it's a Wi-Fi. There's a Wi-Fi internet, and everybody. You walk onto a school, and if you have your smartphone, you can access the internet, their Wi-Fi, as a guest. Students have full access to the internet system through the wireless internet at their schools.
Even if they're at home and they don't have access to a system, the homework assignment and all that is already there.
Everything in
It's already there. So
they have everything there that they need.
They can do it. And the one thing about the Chromebooks, and this is what I keep telling people, we're educating our kids for 2070, not 1970.
Yeah.
And I mean, they are so, for example, when I was a kid, you read a history book, and the question was, how many soldiers were killed with George Custer? Today, it's not how many soldiers were killed. Can you find out how many soldiers were killed? Their job is to find the answer. That's why they have the open computers, they have everything. It's a totally different system of doing things.
Yeah, but I'm just, wondering if certain kids and certain populations still aren't going to be left behind because of economics.
Yeah, we have done everything that we could to make sure that would not be an issue for
Because
any
not
of our
everybody,
students.
as far as I know, have smartphones or can afford smartphones.
I know.
So we have that problem. We were talking about certain school districts are more advanced because they are financially better. So what about areas where the kids and the parents are not? That are they going to still be left behind?
Well,
Even further behind.
Let me respond to that, because I've done quite a bit of reading on that. In terms of the Chromebook, no. However, what has been shown since civil rights legislation of the 60s and 70s is there's not a racial academic gap. Where the gap occurs, it's socioeconomic. So if you want to talk about children left behind, the children that are being left behind are the kids, the poor kids, the kids that are economically disadvantaged, which is why, and I understand what Ms. LaRiviere said, that many of our students do not go K through 12 in our school district. But for those who do, or just for the sake of the kids that maybe will wind up in Collier or Hendry County, I really feel that we need to serve the economically disadvantaged children by more Head Start and Early Head Start programs. We have currently, and I know Head Start is a federally funded program, but we have a long waiting list of children that cannot get into the program. We talked about communication before. There are huge communication gaps. I've talked to a county commissioner, and one of the first questions I said is, well, how do you interact with the school board? Oh, I've tried, they don't want to. You talk to a school board member, the member will say, oh, we've tried, they don't. Well, excuse me, screw that, find a way, because this is our community. This is our community. We're not in little, that's a bad word. I have other bad words, but that, I thought thought that would fly in a room of adults. This is our community. Do we want a community where we're not graduating students? Do I want in my old age to go to Lee Memorial with a heart attack and have a technician that can't read my chart? Or, I mean, that's kind of a dumb example, but you know what? It behooves us to spend money now, avoid more money later. Education pays dividends that are unbelievable. Some people say 10 times. Okay.
Because what I think is more important is to tell what we can do to change the status of Head Start.
All right, I'm so frustrated, I wanna go back to continuity. I wanna make sure we all answer continuity. Can we do one question at a time?
Too many.
Okay, too many, and that's where it gets
Did
frustrating.
you want to start in a list of questions? If that's what you want, because
Yes, and
I will tell you,
here.
me as a voter, and you as the people who come to represent, to wanting these positions, there are questions, pertinent questions. It's not only about classroom.
Yeah.
It's about how can we facilitate the people here in Lee County. And one of the largest questions, because we're so diverse, one of the questions there, that I would like to have answered, are you for or against more technical school or education? Because we're talking about people economically poor and all of that.
She's going back, we're gonna put
We're
that
gonna
on
take
hold.
care of it.
No, because you all are sometimes rambling.
Can you tell I'm a
rambling and
teacher?
stuff, and
I want to be
I'm
organized.
running out of time,
Okay,
so we're going to
continuity.
go with the program that's already started. New questions will be taken and answered at another time, maybe even after this meeting.
From each, but
But we need to finish the
I
subject.
just wanted continuity with the textbook pieces. Every 5 to 7 years, depending on the subject area, there will be a change in the textbook. So that is extremely important for science and social studies because those are changing constantly. And so it's important for there to be updates and changes. When that time comes, the district can choose to stay with what they currently have, or they can move to something different. Where we had a mess up with the continuity that we used to have in place that was very solid here in the district, that did have department head meetings throughout the county come and meet, happened 2 superintendents ago when Dr. Burke was here. I liked him for a lot of things, but we lost our current coordinators, we lost that continuity plan, and so a lot of changes happened and it's never come back. So, for example, one person in his district staff decided, we're gonna, instead of just adopting a new reading series for elementary, she said, well, we're not supposed to do math, but we're gonna go ahead and do math this year anyway. So elementary teachers were
Assistants, nurses, they
Retired teachers.
have retired teachers, they have volunteer tutors, they have gymnastics programs, they have sports programs, things that bring the people in. They have language classes for non-English speakers, and it's, we have a lot of Spanish, but we have, I know I'm involved with the Haitian American Democratic Club, and that's an underserved population, and as Pam said, we have, 159 different languages, so.
159 countries, 124
language, yeah,
languages.
something like that, yeah.
Why? Will somebody explain to me why?
Why do we have that many?
The diversity of population.
Our population has changed.
Yes,
Um,
diverse.
Years ago, when I was a reading coach, at that time, we had 98. That was about 6 years ago. We had 98 different languages and dialects that we served. Now it's was up to 124 last year.
Well, are those like transitional?
Those are people that have moved here from other countries.
No, I'm talking how do they teach these different languages, are those transitional?
They're migrant workers, that they move around with their parents.
Is that what you're wondering? Are they transient, like they move around?
The teaching of these languages
No, we don't teach the
we don't teach the
language.
language.
No, these are the kids that show up at school day one.
Yeah, but you say you have those teachers.
No.
No, I didn't say they're teaching them. I said teachers are frustrated because within their classroom, they could have maybe 5 or 6 different languages that the students speak.
Ms. LaRiviere, easily to answer that question, we do have a program, for example, for those children in the district currently, if they don't know English, there's a program here. That's how we answer this question, rather than rambling through it.
Right.
Yes, sir. Good, okay, thank you.
But it's not like, it's not as, we had a really phenomenal program.
And they destroyed it.
Well, different people come in with a different idea.
Hi, I just wanna, say, I commend any teacher when they take that job, because that's not a job, you're not gonna get rich as a teacher. You're not gonna get great recognition unless you're like lucky or fortunate to have someone recognize you. So being a teacher, I think, is a very admirable vocation. So they're not super people. And the way, so many factors affect how the classroom works, from finances, languages, economics. These kids, when they're young, it's great to have them come in at an early age and use early learning. Because I don't know of any kid that doesn't want to learn under the age of 6, under the age of 8. They're like sponges. You cannot shut them up. They want to know everything. So I don't think that's really a problem in teaching a young child. When we lose the ball, maybe when they reach a state of independence, when they start going off on their own is when we have to capture them. But I think hand in hand with education has to be opportunity. Because if there's no opportunity, the education is wasted. Because there's nothing for them to strive towards. There's nothing for them to have a goal. They're watching their parents killing themselves at 2, 3, 4 jobs. They're watching them get older before their time because there's no opportunity for them. If they grow up in Lehigh, most of the time they can't wait to grow up and graduate and get out of Lehigh. So if the opportunity is not here, then they can look for it, have a mentor, and also I commend the mentors that we have come forward as well. But if there's nothing like that, the language is an issue, the eating is an issue, food issues, they go to school, they're not well fed. Parents, literally, I look at them and they can't wait to shove these kids into school because that has become the daycare. So they can hurry up and get to their jobs. And you give me my kid at 6 o'clock or whatever, bathe them, feed them, whatever, and it's bedtime when we start the cycle again. So what is that child's goal? They realize after a certain period that they've learned the 3 R's, basic. I'm out of here. I don't want to stay here unless there's something that we can come up with to keep them there after maybe grade 3. I don't know, I'm thinking maybe grade 3 or 4 is when they start, why am I doing this? Because the pressure starts coming a little more. They love school in the beginning. A quick story. My daughter, she was like 4 years old, and the first day of school with her brothers, they went to Catholic school and they got dressed and she looked for a nice plaid skirt she had on, and she comes downstairs the first day of school with a plaid skirt on to match her brother's ties, and so because she said, I'm going to school. They cannot wait. So how do we keep them there, I think, is more of an issue. And what's the opportunity that's going to make them strive to continue to learn the sciences, to learn the things that they can put forth? Because at a young age, they're brilliant. They tell me how to run a computer. I can't, they're very smart. But what happens when we lose them, we fall off? What happens, and how can we?
Well, you know what, we're losing some of them in kindergarten now. And that's because of the testing, and that's because of the drilling. I have read countless stories as I researched this of children who turn off to school in kindergarten because they are made to bubble in, learning how to bubble things and learning. And there's more and more. As a matter of fact, one of the bills that's in the legislature right now, there was a list in last week's paper, and I have it on my Facebook webpage, is mandatory recess. There's been a lot of studies done. As a matter of fact, in North Texas, Texas Christian University has pilot programs where they give the little kids 4 recesses, very short. But that's been a problem, lack of recess, and not literally chaining kids to a desk, but not allowing children to play and be children. And it's causing ADHD in some of our kids. It's causing discipline problems in some of our kids.
One of the things that we have failed in the school system is to make school fun. What I mean by fun is over-testing, testing. Whoever came up with the brilliant idea to hook a teacher's salary to the kids' test results should be shot.
Bill Gates, thank you very much.
Now we know who.
You know, it's how this discourages a lot of teachers. But we need to push programs like Future Business Leaders of America. My wife runs that program for the 5-county district. Those kids finish the year, and they're already talking about next year. They want to come back. They want to win. I only made it to states. I want to go to nationals. You know, we've got a program, JROTC. Everybody thinks it's not military. It is a program that teaches the kids basic skills that they need in life. Not all the kids go on to the military. As a matter of fact, I think very few of them do. But they're very proud of who they are, what they accomplish. We've got to have programs that are in school and extra programs to just teach these kids to step that one step where they're actually looking forward to school. You know, we've got one of the best vocational programs anywhere. Kids don't know about it. We've got to step up and push our kids. You know, only 3 out of 4 of our kids are going to go to college. And out of those, only 3 out of 4 are going to finish college, or 1 out of 4 is going to finish college.
There are so many things against them, between the debt.
Right. We've got to teach these kids, hey, you can actually go learn how to fix an air conditioning. Have you called a plumber to your house recently? That's not cheap. We can teach these kids to be, there are schools, and we are not using the resources that are currently in our school system. And you go to I used to go to my counselor, you know, guidance counselor a lot at school. I got called into the office a lot, but that's another issue. But I used to go to the guidance counselor, and they said, well, you can do this, you can try that. The guidance counselor today has been degraded to a tester.
Not only tester,
yes,
paper pusher.
You know, it's a
classroom assignment.
They're not helping our kids, and that's all we have to do. We have to help our kids. You know, as I said, I have the most unbelievable respect for Pam. If we had a board, if she was all the board, things would be great. But the thing is, the board that we have has made it about politics. We got to make it about our kids. It's not if you're a Democrat. It's not if you're a Republican. It's about our kids. What can we do to educate our kids to be something tomorrow? If you can't go to college, hey, it's not a big deal. Go to tech school.
Charlie, I'm going to ask the others if they want to say anything in closing and go down the list. I'm considering that you're closing. Betsy might have more. But...
She said an hour and a half. I thought it was my whole time.
No, we'll get you back to eat a little before you leave, and then we'll get the
What are we doing? Are we answering that
Just
question?
any final.
The final comment.
All right. Well, what was the question again that you had?
I just basically said that we have to couple opportunity with education. If there's no opportunity, I mean, I don't know of a kindergarten that doesn't want to go to school and wants to drop out. I don't know of any. Maybe you do. I don't. But every kindergartner I know, they want to go. They love going to school. It's that transition that is made once they start losing interest. What's going to keep them? The parents, the finances, nutrition. Nutrition plays a big role in a lot of whether kids stay up with ADHD. I think that's a lot of baloney anyway. But if what you eat, it matters to how you perform in school. And I don't mean like if you had a good meal, if you're loading up on, I mean, well, don't get started on the health kick, but, that plays a big role.
Alright, so
That's
to
your
answer
point.
the-
So let Mike and each
Alright,
of us.
so-
It wasn't really a question, it's a comment, so
Alright,
I believe that.
So,
Opportunity needs to.
growing on that, I think it comes back to what I talked about at the beginning. I think we just need to have a discussion about what is the purpose of education in our country. And that's what's important. And that's where we get lost all the time. Every person has different potential, every person has different abilities, and the importance of, I think that what we need to move towards is an education system that gears towards individual students' needs and abilities, and what that student's purpose is going to be. And I think that's how you repurpose education in America. You have to think about, set different standards for everyone. Everybody's different, and that's why we do need help from the national level, but it's important to go to the local level, to go to the school level, to actually implement something like that. I mean, that's all there really is to it. And I think that's where you're going to be able to help when it comes to why are they going to school. I think that's one of the biggest questions is from a student, why are we here? Why are we going to school? Why are we learning this? Well, if we can give them an answer of, well, you're going to school because, you know, this is what it's going to do for you. This is what it's for. And I think that can be at different levels. I think it's also important, the president's plan to have free 2-year college tuition is very important, because for some kids who think that college is impossible because they can't afford it, it gives them hope. Having that hope that, you know what, when I graduate high school, I'm going to be able to go to a 2-year college, that gives them a reason to continue at school. That gives them a reason to continue learning, and that gives them a reason to show up every day, to do their best, so that way once they get done, they know they're going to go to college because it's paid for. They don't have to worry about how they're going to pay for it.
But didn't it used to be free? Public.
Yeah, but we changed it.
I know. it
Because
changed.
we let private industry take over like we do a lot of things.
Wait a minute, excuse me, I got my degree over 30 years ago, it was not free, I did get a Pell Grant.
Maybe a public or community, it was.
cheaper.
It was less expensive, it was less expensive.
One more comment from the floor, and then
One more comment. I
finish it
would
up.
agree with you to a certain point about education. The purpose is not just for work. Education is, that's what you said, am I correct?
Well, I mean, some it's for work, some for higher learning, and I think everybody has a different purpose in life, and everybody has a different purpose of what they get out of education. Some people go for education for the sense of higher learning. Some people go to school because they need to learn a trade. That's why they're going to school. And I think that's where you lose a lot of students. Some students that say, you know what? I'm not here for higher learning. I'm not here to learn more. I'm here to learn this trade so that way I can do this. And I think that's where we need to get into with education.
I just piggyback on what you said, establish a relationship between math and being a carpenter and those things. So, and then there will be some interest in the subjects which they're not interested primarily, but it's a system to do better.
So in other words, when our government is interested in our education, they're actually preserving our democracy and also our lifestyles.
In education means basically that everyone has to hit their potential. Everyone has a different level of potential. So when you hit yours, if you want to plant yard and carpentry is your thing, then you go for it. You've reached your potential. You've reached it. If you haven't reached it, you're going to keep striving. You're going to go to college. You're going to go to get your master's, bachelor's, whatever, PhD. But you're going to keep on striving until you hit that potential, and that's what education is. You got to hit. Everyone must find, and the counselors, the teachers must encourage every student to hit their potential. And I think that's where we
And just one
get
last note on
education.
that, I'm not saying that you tell a student what their potential is.
No. You
And I
make them
think that
realize it.
they make them decide that, because
Yes.
at one point when I was in high school, it was, okay, well, just graduate high school, so you're gonna go to college.
Well, then you said,
Well, obviously, I've gone past that, so.
but you said you're not settling. We're talking about encouragement to reach your potential.
I want to close this out with one closing from the head of the lady that's on the school board. But I do want to say that the purpose of this, of Insights, was so that we could get ideas of how we as citizens could go do something about the things that these people are unhappy about. So if we don't take it to where we can write letters to somebody to get more Head Start money, or we can go to our commissioners and get impact fees, and we don't do anything about it. All of this is for nothing. We have to realize that we as citizens have a role to play. It's not just the people here, and it's not just the complaints, but hearing them and hearing some of the shortfalls, we should look to try to help to make next year a better year for the school year. We have a role to play. So I hope you all understand that when I come in with letters to somebody about Head Start or a petition about something else that they care about, I will ask them and I will try to bring them to our attention at the next meeting so we do something besides talk. Because talk the talk, walk the walk is better.
Well, voter apathy is
Well,
high
can't
also
help voter
because
apathy.
we
They
don't
shouldn't
feel
either.
that our leaders are actually listening to the people. And many people have been complaining as well.
Yeah, they complain beautifully, but let's do something about it, is what
but-
I'm saying.
But that's the point. People
Let's
can
walk
only
the
do
walk.
so much for so many years.
No,
And like Charlie
You do
said,
it till
we
the
need to
job's
change the whole
done.
board, not completely, because you're.
I'm
early in,
82 and
but-
I'm still doing it. Don't tell me you do it for so many years.
Please,
You
if I
have a
can
chance
have a
to
comment.
finish, or can we?
I just want one comment, the card that I gave, the school board member can take it. If you have reason, the one card with 3 questions there, and for some reason, if you don't understand what it is, you can have my number, because I think they're legit questions for all citizens. They're questions that, and I'll tell you, I represent about 120,000 people that live around. Not represent, I'm not elected. But I'm just letting you know that there are questions there, if I have to select either vote for or complain to a school board, those are the kinds of issues that we need to resolve along with some that you guys have touched on. And for voting purpose, I gotta know that you represent the right issues for the people. Otherwise, it's a no.
No, we're on time now. This lady gets her clothes.
And I'm gonna just address, it to that piece, but I am going to say this has nothing to do with my clothes. I have the questions. If there are any other questions, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna write the questions down. I will send them to the 3 of you as an email attachment. This is what I request, so that it's fair. That you limit, so I will try to come up with something that seems like a reasonable response. And I don't want somebody to take 2 pages to write the response, but so that it's a short paragraph.
50 words or less.
Yeah, that's right, 50 words or less for the
And the school
questions.
board member, so, because you're in the school board, I just want to say, that should not limit. I know that that's gonna be shared amongst these folks, but that should not limit to only these folks. It should go as questions possibly to the rest of the board members, because these are concerns of citizens. It's not only about
So what I will do is, and then that will be sent
Shared.
back to whoever the designee is here, so that you will have access to that.
no, not me, I mean your school board, the rest of the school
No,
board members.
but once I have the answers and they are compiled, they will come back to you, and then they will also be available for whoever. Okay. One of the key things that's been very helpful within our district, and I do believe that education is the goal for our students, and we want them to be able to get their education that will meet their needs. It needs to be based on where students are, and we don't need to look to see if they meet a mark. We need to see how they're growing and what the areas of need are. That's what our focus needs to be. One of the key things that has helped us right now, many of our students have the capability of having 4 years paid college tuition through a mentoring program that is done. If you would like to be involved and participate in a mentoring program with the Foundation of Lee County Public Schools, I will also include that information, because there are targeted students that are lower socioeconomic, in jeopardy of not graduating, and these mentors work with them from 9th grade all the way through 12th grade. If they finish and they go all the way through that, and they pass, they will have 4 years of college tuition paid for them. And that is done through FSW. There are several different components that we have, but I really do say, we have a problem now that wasn't around when I first began teaching. We have students that are born who are alcohol syndrome, who are drug syndrome. You know, we have a different thing happening that used to happen. We also, in many cases, for a lot of our students, we have parents whose capacity for parenting skills are very weak. And so the more we can get volunteers in the elementary schools and the middle schools that will spend time with the children and talk with them and build relationships with those children, that's one of the best things we can ever do. Because some of those students literally will go through the whole day, and unless they're at school, they will not hear their name mentioned throughout the day. And definitely not hear it mentioned in a loving way that gives them the notice and the attention they need. So I encourage you, however you can get involved, and I will include the information for the mentoring program with the foundation. We have several mentors out at East. We also have them at Lee, but really have a lot out at East because that's an area of great need. And we do have them at Riverdale that are working with the students. And so I just ask you, one of the best things we can do for our students is for us to invest our time in them. And thank you for being here, Charlie.
Can I say one thing?
And I'm a take stock mentor too. Lee, I understand that from the foundation, because I volunteer there, that East Lee is their hardest to staff with volunteers because it's less central. And so those who live in Lehigh, it's great. It doesn't take that much of your time. You need to see them 15 times a year over the school year.
We are faced right now with a very, very unusual situation that will never happen again. The entire system, the entire way that we pick our school board has changed. We're going from 5 people who ran countywide to 7 people. Only 2 of them are running countywide, 5 of them are districts. This is without question the best year to make changes. Never would 2 people be sitting up here, one running for a district only and one running for countywide. This is the year, if you want to make the changes. I know I need the help, I need the support. We can change our school board. We can change this block of 3 people that block everything. We can change it because we have some great people running for our school board. I've got some flyers here, I need some help. I'm sure she needs help. We can change the school, but the unusual thing, we're going from a countywide, 5 seats countywide, to 7 seats, 5 of them are district only. So we've got a great opportunity to get some new people on there, some new ideas, and some progressive ideas that could make tomorrow better for all our kids.
There are handouts of different legislative priorities for the school district. How our budget was for last year. These are our legislative priorities for this year, and data and facts from last year. So I'm giving those to you, and I will also try my hardest to provide you with information so that people can send emails and make phone calls and speak with the state legislators, because right now that's critical. And you can say things that I can't say because I need to be a little bit more respectful because I know what happens if the state legislators are not happy with what we do, and they will penalize school districts. So
we're going to go back and have coffee now because
But you can't blame them.